Today on Not So Random, we interview actor Allan Martin from the Sony Affirm Originals new series, Shadrach, which is available now on Great American Pure Flix.
Shortly after I retired from the DA's office, I wanted to do more acting and specifically wanted to do more content that really spoke to my heart. And this audition for Shadrach came about. And as you mentioned, I've done a number of different types of roles, but this one just seemed to fit so perfectly.
Shares his heart about the need for more films and series like this.
I think there is a real need and a real desire among so many people out there to see something that's quality entertainment that really speaks to their values.
This series' family really feels like they may truly be blood relation off camera.
It seems like you all gel as a real family. What did it take to make all of that magic happen?
That's interesting you say that because there's a family picture from one of the scenes in Shadrach that shows all six of us there. And I think I had put that on Facebook or Instagram or something. And there was an old high school friend again, or somebody I hadn't seen in a long time. She wrote back and said, "Oh, I thought that was your real family." So they did a terrific job in casting this.
This heartfelt interview is one that you must watch.
Anna in one of her voiceovers. And this again goes to the subtle way they just present to me spiritual truths. And at some point says, things happen in life, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, and sometimes we don't know which is which. That to me is just a summation of Romans 8:28. All things work together for good. They don't seem good at the time, but we know God's got good plans.
Get ready for a thrilling ride on today's program where we are welcoming actor Allan Martin, a commanding force on screen. Martin currently is captivating the audiences as a rugged rancher in the Sony Affirm Originals new series Shadrach, which just premiered on the Great American Pure Flix on July 25th. I encourage you to download that TV app for your smart television and watch Shadrach series along with all the other family programs that they have, movies and shows that they have available on PureFlix. But today, our guest has a broad range of roles that knows no bounds. He's left an indelible mark on the screen from his unforgettable performance as that redneck boat owner, Jed, in Ozark, to his moving portrayal of an ill-tempered cancer patient in Rebel. From the wealthy socialite in Mad Men to the arrogant surgeon seen on The Resident and Heartbeat. Martin's talent definitely showed through. And let's not forget the 2-year run as Dr. Noah in The Young and the Restless, plus his virtual presence as a professional football coach in the widely popular Madden NFL video game. Well, Allan Martin, welcome to Not So Random, sir.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, no problem. Well, as we get started today, just simply tell us a little about yourself and how you got into acting. I heard that you were part of the DA. I mean, you go from DA to acting. Tell us how that bridge kind of came about for you.
Well, it wasn't from one to the other. They've both kind of coexisted for a very long time. I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas, very middle class life there. Two brothers, parents. We went to church every Sunday, and I was involved in, young life in high school. But we were very much into sports growing up: football, basketball, baseball, tennis, golf, swimmers. We were big swimmers back then. But my dad always emphasized more than anything the classroom. So we felt like it was our, responsibility and obligation to my dad and my mom as well, of course, to be the student athlete, but was student first. So I was blessed to get to go on a football scholarship to Vanderbilt, which is a fabulous and still is, of course, academic institution. and played football there for 4 years. And then after that, went to law school. And after graduating from law school, eventually made my way to the district attorney's office. But I had done theater as much as I could all along the way. I was in church plays when I was growing up at junior high. Didn't have time to do that at Vanderbilt because football school is just too consuming. But in law school, we had our own little drama group where we did a couple of plays. And then eventually, when I was in the DA's office, the way I like to describe it was I was did jury trials during the day and theater at night, and I had to do that because an audience of only 12 people at a time was just not enough for my ego. So I did theater at night. I was part of a wonderful Christian theater company called the Actors Co-op at the legendary Hollywood Presbyterian Church. But they were professional theater. We had two theater companies. They're still going strong. And I got to do about 25 plays while I was in the DA's office. So it's always been part of part of my passion to do theater, even as I was pursuing my career as a prosecutor. But I retired from the DA's office a couple of years ago, and now am enjoying the opportunity to actually pursue it more aggressively. And that's how Shadrach came along.
Well, that's awesome. And why don't you tell our people about your latest project, Shadrach, and what it is and who you play?
Yeah. Well, Sony has a faith-based division called Affirm Films, and Affirm Originals or Affirm Television is part of that. So this was a production out of that faith-based division. And as you mentioned, it's streaming on Great American Pureflix. And it's, I think, the fourth original series that Great American Pureflix has done this year. Great American Family and Pureflix used to be separate entities, but they merged a while back, and now they've combined forces to present so much great family and faith-based content. So it's really a joy to be associated with them. But this, I really see God's hand in this, that shortly after I retired from the DA's office, I wanted to do more acting and specifically wanted to do more content that really spoke to my heart. And this audition for Shadrach came about. And as you mentioned, I've done a number of different types of roles, but this one just seemed to fit so perfectly. And the story is about parents and their two young kids, a 12-year-old girl and 10-year-old boy, who are living in the big city, series of circumstances. And this happens in the first few minutes of episode one. The father loses his job, basically, or loses his company through some shady things with his either brother or brother-in-law. And they are forced to leave their home, leave their big city life, and move to the country and live with Paw and Graham. And they're renovating a house, but for a while they're all thrust into this house, this farmhouse together, 3 generations, and it's all about how you deal with change. Change is hard, so it's great. It's trite to say it's good for the whole family, but it is. You've got 3 generations of family who are together and learning how to adjust and deal with change, deal with things that you get thrown. You get thrown with unexpected things in your life.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we're going to roll a clip real quick of your interaction with a horse named Shadrach and Anna, your granddaughter.
Horses try and let you know exactly what they're feeling. He's saying he doesn't like it here.
That's why he won't eat?
Swishing his tail, that means he's irritated. He's pawing the ground, that's frustration. Showing us the white in his eyes, that's anger or even fear.
All because we moved him to a new stall?
Let's put him back in his old home. I'll do my best to get the old stall door working.
Thanks, Papa. I'll take you out to the pasture.
Greg, what was it like working with Anna, played by Livy Birch, and Shadrach the horse?
Well, it was so much fun. It was really a joy to work with both of them. First of all, Livy Birch, just a phenomenal young actress. She has to carry the show, and she does. A lot of the show is done in voiceover and showing her interaction with the horse. And the writing is beautiful, but she is just such a wonderful young actress, and it made it very easy to work with her. And the horse was great. I didn't spend a lot of time around horses growing up, a little bit, but the horse, it's amazing. They have personalities that, and in fact, you don't know this watching the show. There were actually two horses. A guy named Ed Dabney runs a horse training outfit there that uses these horses for Hollywood productions. And there were two horses who were cousins who looked very much alike, but they have distinct personalities. So whichever horse fit the scene we were shooting, that's the horse they would use. Sometimes that horse needed to be more spirited. Sometimes it just needed to be calm and ride with Anna and her younger brother on it. So it was just a lot of fun working with Ed. He's like an old Clint Eastwood character right out of Central Casting. But it was so much fun to, not just in the show, but in real life, to watch how Livy bonds with this horse, and she's so good with it. So, they say it's, working. It's an old adage in Hollywood: working with kids and animals. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I disagree. It was
Yeah.
great working with both of them.
So I guess it goes without saying it was a fulfilling project to be part of, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to dwell so much on Livy that I forget to mention Cale Farron, who plays the younger brother, Michael. And this is one of the really special aspects about this show, I think. It's a family show. I don't think you necessarily label it a faith-based show, but faith and their fundamental belief in God is just a part of who they are. So you're not beat over the head with it. It's not preachy. They go to church, they say grace before meals, and every once in a while, a character go, "Hey, let's pray about that." But what I love about it is just they are just living real life. And a lot of real life happens in this thing. There's drama, there's danger, there's a lot of humor in it. But getting back to Cale, uh, Cale Farron is the young actor, and he's a terrific actor as well. But he has a rare blood genetic disorder called Fanconi anemia, and that affects the bone marrow. It makes him more susceptible to things like leukemia and other forms of cancer. And it's just part of the story. I mean, they wrote this part knowing that that's what he has. And it's just part of who they are as a family and what they've had to accept and to deal with. And you'll see in the show that one of the hallmarks of that disease is that there's a deformity in the hands, that they turn inward almost like claws, and there's no thumbs. And yet, who you see Michael, the character in this show, is exactly who Cale is in real life. He's just got this radiant smile, and he's just so full of joy. And he's got it in real life. He's got this wicked little sense of humor, always playing jokes on people. But he's just a delightful kid, and that comes across in the show.
Why would people need to watch this show? What are they going to get out of it as a family when they sit down and watch this as compared to some of the other programs that might be on television nowadays?
Well, I think there is a real need and a real desire among so many people out there to see something that's quality entertainment that really speaks to their values. And this show, as I alluded to earlier, it's about changes that happen within this family. I mean, you think about a young girl, 12-year-old girl, who is yanked out of her life, away from her friends, away from her school, as well as her younger brother. In fact, in the first scenes, she gets to the country and she holds up her cell phone because there's no service. So her life as a 12-year-old girl, now it's not the social media life. She's completely thrown into a new situation. The parents, the dad's lost his job. Mom, who used to live in this small town, has been in the big city, living the high life, and now she's brought back there. The grandparents, who've had this easy, comfortable life, living on the farm, now they've got 4 people living in their household. So it's kind of trite to say it's good for the whole family, but it really is. You've got 3 generations there. And I also want to point out that it's not, I want to make sure people understand this is not, there was a time, I guess I should go back and say, there was a time when you hear the term faith based, and you kind of go, oh, that just equates with low quality. No more. I mean, everybody has seen over the past few years what's happened in Hollywood as they've come to recognize there is an audience for this kind of entertainment. And once they, through back to there was a time many years ago when Chariots of Fire. It was like that was the thing. You can make a good film that has a faith element to it, and then there just wasn't good entertainment like that for so long. Then Mel Gibson made The Passion of the Christ, and then more and more resources, better talent, better directing, writing, everything started coming to this genre. And now you see so much. I mean, you think about with The Chosen, what a worldwide phenomenon that's been. A couple of years ago, the Jesus Revolution, just so many things that so many programs and projects that are really good now. So people can be assured when they watch it that they're going to see something quality. The writing's good, the production values are great. It's beautiful to look at, but more than anything, it's just so much in the world today is so divisive, and people are fighting and angry and so much hate going on. This is about, wow, there is a way you can just live a simpler life and slow down and enjoy what's most important, and that being faith and family. And again, it sounds trite, but it's not. It's just how these people learn to enjoy each other, to learn from each other, to invest into each other's lives. It's good entertainment for everybody. I'll end with this. Sorry for rambling, but I got an email from a high school friend of mine the other day, and she wrote to me and said, because I'd let a lot of people know about this show, of course. She wrote to me and said, unsolicited, she just said, we had our grandkids over the other night, and we all watched Shadrach, and we loved it, and we can't wait for more. And I thought that's the best review you can possibly get when you're seeing multiple generations watching this together and enjoying it.
Well, with the way the world is going on right now, it's like, even though this was recorded, like 2 years ago, I think it was released right at the right time that the world needs to see something like this.
I agree. That's a very good point. Now, personally, as an actor, I was very frustrated that it took so long. We were in, COVID was going on, and then actor strike, writer strike, and the whole industry just kind of shut down for a while and contracted. And then there was, from Pure Flix standpoint, where are we going to put this in? So it took a lot longer for it to be released than I was hoping. But I think you're exactly right. This is a perfect time for it to be released and people to experience what it has to say, what it has to offer.
So true, Greg. We'll be back with more with actor Greg Allan Martin right after this.
We can't afford to stay here, and we could get a house near my parents for next to nothing.
I miss my friends. I miss my old life.
Heavenly Lord, we're grateful to be together. Amen.
Amen.
There's no cell service here.
Will you look at that? We got ourselves a fine-looking horse in the yard.
I like animals.
You like videos of animals.
Come on out, kids.
What's Shadrach doing here?
Your papa bought him for you and Michael.
Who's ready to ride a horse?
We are.
I want to go searching for artifacts.
Well, I can't wait to hear what you discover.
The power of faith had just begun to take us places.
Yeah!
And a new life of adventure for all of us.
Well, we're back with Paw from Shadrach, the new TV series available on the Great American Pure Flix. As you saw in the break, we showed that trailer for Shadrach. You've been a part of various projects in the past. What's the difference for you between the faith film or faith series and the rest? And will you be involved in more faith-related programs?
Well, I certainly hope to be more involved in faith-based projects because obviously that speaks to my heart and speaks to my faith. And all along I viewed my involvement in theater and acting as a bit of a ministry, I guess I could say, because as I mentioned, I was involved with a Christian theater company, and that's the way we viewed it. We wanted to do quality entertainment. We wanted to show people that Christians can do theater that is very, very high quality, and we didn't just do church plays. We did, um, mainstream plays, but that felt like they told a story that would impact an audience, that would make them think and make them learn, make them help them to grow. So that's always spoken to me, to be able to tell stories that can resonate with people. So I certainly hope to do more of that, and that's why this particular project was so appealing to me, and as well as the character. Just I'm not a grandfather yet, and I actually had to get over the fact when I got the audition that I was finally old enough in my career to play a character named Paw Paw. But once I got over that, it was just a delight to be there on set. Not that everybody on the set was Christians by any means. I don't think that's even true on most faith-based projects, but there certainly were a number of people. But the ability to tell stories like this that have good writing and that can make people think and reflect. That's really important to me. Now, that's not to say that I don't want to do more mainstream projects. I mean, at this point in time, now that I'm retired from the DA's office and I've got the opportunity to pursue this, I'd like to do anything I can. But one of the things that this has done, I'm seeing it start to happen now, and I hope it continues to do, is just open up doors to be more involved in that faith-based arena.
Well, that's awesome. Well, as we know, streaming is here to stay, and it's played a role in your industry. And traditional movie and television distribution has morphed into what we see today. Waiting for your favorite television show on Friday night on the Friday night lineup is a thing of the past, and going to the
Yeah.
movies has even changed tremendously. How have you adapted? And you go back a little bit, so you've seen this morph. I mean, it's not like you just started acting yesterday. You've seen these changes, and like this movie being distributed a little later than we expected. Uh,
Yeah.
how's that been for you?
Yeah, I mean, as a viewer, it's completely changed the way I view things. Of course, I watch a lot of streaming stuff, and it's wonderful because something like Shadrach. I mean, it's uh, when all 6 episodes have aired on the service, it's there forever, so people can watch it anytime. They can go back. You can hear about this 2 years later and watch it. It's had it's kind of a double-edged sword in some ways as an actor, because there is so much more content out there in one respect, or at least there used to be, but now with the strikes and the industry contraction, a lot of people are really hurting to find work these days. And it's made it much more competitive worldwide. When I do an audition now, because of COVID, they started doing auditions by videotape. I'm here in my own little studio now, and when I get an audition, I do this on a videotape and send it in, which makes it very convenient. You don't have to go into a casting office, run around town. You can do it whether I'm here in Newport Beach or I'm in Nashville. I can do an audition from there, so that's convenient. The flip side of that is that means I'm now competing against for any role. I don't know who reached for roles, but for Shadrach, for instance, I could have been reading for that, and there could have been some guy in Australia who was reading for the very same part. So it's gotten much more competitive from that standpoint. But it's also allowed for mm, the for services like Great American Pure Flix to get out so much content. So as a viewer, you've got a place to find the content that speaks to you, that speaks to your family, that we're all kind of bombarded by the Netflix and the Prime series and the Marvel things, and so much that you see as a viewer that are constantly within the news. But now you can find things. If that doesn't appeal to you, you can find things that do appeal to you.
Oh, I guess we're no different than we were a few days ago.
We're different. There's no Lucy.
You're right. And we miss her.
I just don't want to lose track of her in all of this.
Money can really turn a person's head.
It's not so much money as the love of money. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. Ecclesiastes, chapter 5, verse 10.
You should have been a minister.
Is it too late?
I had no idea Lizzie took out a reverse mortgage.
Or spent all of her retirement money.
I bet even that opal ring's not what it seemed.
But it was pretty, and it gave her joy.
Considering how broke she was, it's a miracle she had burial insurance.
You heard what the man said. Her policy's not going to cover all the costs.
So, how much are we on the hook for?
A couple thousand, I think.
Luckily, I can still get my old chainsaw working.
And our old couch is doing fine.
I love you. You know that?
I do.
Well, the interaction you had with Graham was a very poignant moment. The goal of, I guess, of any actor is to be a believer as far as when it comes to what you're seen as on television or the screen. You've got to be believable. And I tell you, it seems like you all gel as a real family. What did it take to make all of that magic happen?
That's interesting you say that, because there's a family picture from one of the scenes in Shadrach that shows all six of us there. And I think I had put that on Facebook or Instagram or something. And there was an old high school friend again, or somebody I hadn't seen in a long time. She wrote back and said, "Oh, I thought that was your real family." So they did a terrific job in casting this. But the joy of doing a project like this, where we were there for 6 weeks all together in Covington, Georgia, on this real farm out there. And I can talk more about that. But when you get to spend that much time around the other actors, as well as the director and the producers and the crew members, you do get to be close to them. And as a family, when we're dealing with these family dynamics in the script, to, as you said, to make that come across as real, you have to be believable. And the scene that you just showed, I really love that episode, because it was an episode that was played with some humor, definitely, but it's poignant and instructive because they're all the grandparents, the parents, the kids, they've all got their little secrets in this episode that they're keeping from one another. And that scene there is a scene where we're owning up to that, which every character does. So yeah, to make those things believable, you have to really bond with the actors you're playing.
On a personal note, do you have like a God encounter that you've had in the past, or an act of kindness story to share with our viewers?
Wow. I mean, there are so many of it. In terms of a personal God encounter, without going into great detail, there was a time in my life a number of years ago, probably about 10 years ago, when I was going through a big change, relationship change, and I was on a trip that was supposed to be two people. It ended up being just one person, and I was out walking through a rainforest, and I was out hiking, and I love to hike. I'm very active and outdoorsy. And I was hiking along, and I was, kind of staring at the ground and sort of grumbling and this sort of thing. And all of a sudden, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm in the middle of one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been, and I'm just ignoring it because I'm so focused on myself. And I just stopped for a minute. And I've never audibly heard the words of God, but I had this sense, and it was really present. And it's on my screensaver now. I just had this sense of God saying, stop, slow down, listen, one step at a time, and I will surprise you. And so I was on this path, and I heard this noise about 10, 15 yards off the path. So I walked off the path and looked up, and the top of these trees, way up there, like 200 feet up, I saw all of these spider monkeys just dancing around and cavorting and throwing figs and all this kind of stuff. And I stood there just transfixed for like 20 minutes. And that was a really good lesson for me, to just slow down and listen and pay attention and recognize that God's there. And it's such a waste of time and even sinful for us to just be so self-consumed with things not working out the way we thought they would.
The big question we all have, are you really a Harley man in real life, and do you ride?
That's a great question. In fact, when my son, I've got two sons, and my older one's 28, I got a text from him the next day. He goes, "Hey, how come you never let us ride motorcycles?" Because that's the way my mom was. I mean, we did a lot of risky things as kids and played all kinds of sports, but that was the one thing she said: "You will never set foot on a motorcycle." So that was a stunt guy doing all of that riding, which I regretted because that was such a beautiful bike. Oh my gosh, it was wonderful to at least be with it and sit on it if I didn't get a chance to ride it.
What advice would you give someone out there that's wanting to get into acting?
Wow, that could be another 4 or 5 episodes.
I know that's opening a can, isn't it?
Yeah.
Opening a can of worms there.
I mean, if it's something that you love to do, find a way to do it. That would be true with anything you have a passion for. You feel like God's given you a desire for something and a gift for something. But at the same time, especially nowadays, because there are a lot of people in the industry, as I said earlier, who are really hurting and really having trouble finding work. You look on film and TV and you go, "Oh, there's just so much out there. It must be easy." But no, it's not. There's the percentage, especially of actors, that I don't know what they say, 5% of them actually make even more than $10,000 in a year. So it is very, very, very difficult to make a living. And I say that to say my advice to anyone who wants to pursue acting is, do it, but find something else that you love to do, that speaks to you, that gives you meaning and purpose, and that you can make a living at the same time. And that's what I did. I made a deliberate decision. I loved acting, but I made a deliberate decision to go to law school, to work as an attorney, and do this on the side. And I was fortunate enough to do theater along the way, to get some film and TV roles along the way. But it was a hobby, and I wasn't dependent upon it for my living. I wasn't, even more importantly, it wasn't my identity. And I think it's a very real danger in the acting world that you can think just because you've got talent, and a lot of people do, a lot more talent than I do, that because you've got talent and you've got a desire, that it's going to work out for you, that it's going to provide a living for you. Most people, it doesn't. So that'd be my main, and I've given that advice to a lot of young people. Find something else that you love to do, and you're not dependent upon this. You're not desperate to make it work.
Well, that's some great advice from Paw right there, isn't it? And
Yeah.
if you could, as we leave today, Paw, do you have any godly advice or last words for our viewers before you go today, just to kind of sum it up?
Yeah, reflecting back to, again, what I've talked about with the show, and what I was just talking about a little earlier about things not working out the way you think they're. That's one of the things. As you get older, you get a lot more wrinkles, but hopefully you gain a little bit of wisdom. And I mean, the truth is, there are so many things in my life that didn't go the way I thought they would. I grew up as an athlete. I thought I was going to be, like the Tim Tebow before Tim Tebow was even born, that kind of thing. I thought it was going to be the All-American football player, play pro football, have this great platform for God, and kind of me and God were going to do this together. And it wasn't until I got older, number one, realized I wasn't that good. Things didn't work out that way. And that was so arrogant and narcissistic of me to think that my plan was the way things should work. And why wasn't God getting along with this plan? And aren't you paying attention? And here's a football analogy to go along with that. One of my favorite football movies, and probably my favorite spiritual quote in any movie ever, from Rudy. We all remember that movie where Rudy is a walk-on at Notre Dame. He's trying to play football. Well, there's a scene when things aren't working out. They're not going the way he planned. And he has befriended a priest played by Robert Prosky, wonderful character actor. And Rudy goes into this church, and he's sitting there, empty pews with Robert Prosky, and just talking to him. He goes, "Have I prayed enough? Is there anything more I could do?" And Robert, because he's not making the team, things are just not happening for him. And Robert Prosky's got this wonderful moment where he says, "Son, in 35 years of religious studies, I've come up with only two hard, incontrovertible facts. There is a God, and I'm not him." And to me, that is just such a wonderful lesson about the fact that we just don't know what plans God has. I remember a sermon about looking at the back of a giant tapestry, and you just see all of this mishmash of wool strands going every which way, and it just looks like utter chaos. But we're just seeing that side of it. If you turn that around, which someday we'll do when we get to heaven and see, and even now in this life, you can look back and see how God's operated in your life. You see this beautiful tapestry that God's creating, this piece of art. And even in Shadrach, I'm going to take it back to Shadrach, Anna, in one of her voiceovers, and this again goes to the subtle way they just present to me spiritual truths. Anna at some point says, things happen in life, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, and sometimes we don't know which is which. That to me is just a summation of Romans 8:28. All things work together for good. They don't seem good at the time, but we know God's got good plans.
Well, that's awesome. Greg, I just pray that you'll have all the success in the world, and that more importantly, you'll be a light in Hollywood, or Little Hollywood, Georgia. There's a lot of films and things filmed in Georgia now, but be a light in Hollywood for us. And I hope to see you in more series and movies like Shadrach. And to our audience, I just thank you for watching today, whether you work in film or you're a fry cook down the block at a restaurant. Just simply be the light and be kind, and let's show the world what real faith is all about. Thank you.
The Not So Random YouTube channel has a compelling message that resonates with the power of divine guidance and the anticipation of Jesus' return. Here are some key takeaways. Not So Random emphasizes that the most impactful acts of kindness are those guided by God. It's about recognizing divine appointments and acting upon them. The channel aims to share messages of hope and truth, reminding viewers of the ultimate act of kindness, Jesus' sacrifice.
God dropped this in my spirit. When you watch that movie Passion of the Christ, and he was getting whipped, and that's one of the hardest scenes to watch right there, is when he's getting whipped. Two things were happening. Somebody knew the identity and somebody didn't. The one whipping Jesus and the blood splattering, and he's just wiping it off. It's like he doesn't even know what power is in what just dropped on him. He just wipes his brow and keeps doing what he's doing. But then you see the mother of Jesus and the other Mary handed towels. And what did they do? They took that blood and they cherished it. That's my son's blood. That's my friend's blood. And they cherished their inheritance.
Inspiring interviews, The channel showcases individuals making a difference, providing viewers with examples of people living out their faith and making a positive impact. Not So Random also participates in simulcasts as guest panelist, fostering collaboration and broadening its reach. Today, we offer a clear call to action. Subscribe, engage with the content, and make a difference in the world. Overall, the Not So Random YouTube channel offers a blend of inspiration, spiritual guidance, and a sense of community. It invites viewers to embrace kindness, seek truth, and anticipate the future with hope.